goods and services. So who can charge GST, whether you are allowed to charge GST or not, how it is calculated. The presenter will show you how to complete the GST return, when to file, and explain on GST refunds, the requirement process of it. That session will also cover GST section 65A. So that 65A, the commission has always been a power of the commission. We've not sort of utilized it in the past, only in the areas of coffee and cocoa. So trying to make GST the number one tax, as we indicated, this is one of the strategies that we've sort of revisited. So our officer will explain on that. After that GST, we will have our break, and then we have making payments to the IRC and the new IRC portal, My IRC application. So we'll have, in that session, we will look at the requirements. Most of in our efforts to go paperless, My IRC would be the platform for the future that taxpayers will be interacting with IRC. So that's the other one later on. And then we have in the afternoon our other stakeholders like the banks, BSP, Kina Bank, Women's Micro Bank. They will be joining us and giving their presentations after lunch as well. So IRC is not the only one in this whole business process. There are other stakeholders as well that will assist you in your small business until you come lo time lo baim tax. So they will be speaking the afternoon session. Housekeeping rules, please put your phones on silent or vibrate so you don't disturb the others while they're listening to presentation. Our restrooms are further down. Right at the end as you go, there are signs there to guide you through to the restrooms. I think that's all. During the break, that 10 o'clock break, please don't forget to complete the survey forms. Again, the survey forms will tell us which areas we need to improve on and whether you were satisfied with the presentation so far or not, and whether IRC should continue and come up with the most sampler modisla presentation or not. So again, I welcome you all, and I'll let our speaker Degemba come up and talk to you on GST. Thank you.
Thank you, MC. Now, morning, let me all get You me all right, Good, blah. Mama, so say you blah, all right. Firstly, by way of introduction, my name is Degemba. I am the team leader for GST Section 65A within the GST refund section of SME Audit Division. I'd like to start off with something funny. Like all good Christians, we do pray to our Heavenly Father to provide us what we need for our daily provisions. Iga displa yampla boy, strong pla lotuman. Na iga one pla prayer point blow em. Na hogora time to pray lo big man lo. Emi must give me one pla good pla Mary. Every day me pray, wiki go, muni go, yeah go finish. Na emi no kisi mansa yet. One fine day, displa yampla man emi go around lo market. Na mi looking one pla yampla. Nice pla smart pla Mary. Na lewa blow em emi stop lo upside. Na mi pull him in, click. Na mi beten. Papa Godo, this la something me look him ya. You look him too or no God. All right, thank you. This morning we'll talk about goods and services tax. The objectives of this session. After this session, you as the participants, you should have a general understanding of what GST is. GST is a big tax, so I don't expect you to understand all the things, but just to have a fair and general understanding of what GST is all about. And also for you to know the GST registration process and requirements, and also to know the two bases of accounting for GST and the time of supply, and know the type of information that should be contained in a tax invoice, and know your obligation as a GST registered taxpayer, and also know how to calculate GST payable, and understand the GST refund and how to lodge a refund application or credit transfer application. You should also know what GST Section 65A is, and we will also cover how you should fill a monthly GST return. Just a brief understanding of GST. GST is a broad-based tax, meaning GST covers us all. Lapun man em go baim sugar lo store, em baim GST. Mama go baim bambam lo pikinini lo store too, em baim GST. So GST is a fair tax. Unlike the other taxes, like salary wages tax, not all of us we pay salary and wages tax. It's only those who are employed or workman na meritasol only buy salary and wages tax. But GST, it's a broad base. We're all paying GST. My presentation is formatted in a question and answer type format. So what is GST? GST is a tax that is charged at a rate of 10% in Papua New Guinea on the supply of goods and services by a registered person. In order for you to charge GST, you must be a registered person, a GST registered person. You cannot charge GST if you are not registered for GST, because that would be unlawful. So the first definition relates to the inland GST. Now the second definition is a tax that is levied or collected at a rate of 10% on the importation of goods into Papua New Guinea. So GST basically is a domestic tax. It applies within PNG. Now, when we talk about GST, it's the supply of goods or services. And in GST, we have three types of supplies. What are they? The first one is a taxable supply. A taxable supply is a supply of goods or services in PNG which is charged at a rate of 10% or at a rate of 0%. That's number one. Number two is zero rated supply. Zero rated supply is a taxable supply, but is charged at a rate of 0%. Now I have some examples for you there. Exported goods. When you are exporting goods, it's a zero rated supply. GST will be charged, but at the rate of 0%. The other example is duty-free goods. We have duty-free shops. So when you are buying from a duty-free shop, they will be selling you goods at the rate of 0% for GST. They won't be charging you. They will be charging, but at the rate of 0%. So anything against zero, it's zero. The other example is international travel. If you are flying overseas, the ticket that you purchase, it does attract GST, but at a rate of 10%. So in other words, you don't pay GST. The other example is sale of going concern. If a person is trying to sell a business or company to another person, that sale is a zero rated sale. The other example is medical supplies. Medical supplies are zero rated. The other supply is supply to a prescribed foreign aid provider. This is a zero rated supply. So that's for zero rated supply. The last supply that we have is exempt supply. Exempt supply, you don't charge GST. You're not allowed to charge GST. And I have some examples there. One is medical services. Medical services are exempt supplies. The other one is school fees or tuition fees. We don't charge GST on school fees or tuition fee. The other example is PMV or taxi fare. You may not have a charge in GST law, bus fare or taxi fare. The other example is financial services. Example is if you are trying to exchange a currency, they don't charge GST. Or if you are trying to get a loan from the bank. So these are financial services. And we have a list of those financial services. These are exempt supplies. The other one is the sale of postage stamp. And the last one is the supply of betting, lotteries, or pokis. Imi online blow pilay pokis na bet ha. Online blow pilay horse o NRL 1 to 12 or 13 plus ha. Emol Islam nogat. These are exempt supply. So all in all, there are three supplies: taxable supply, zero rated supply, and exempt supply. Who should register for GST and how to register for GST? A person whose annual turnover, sales turnover is over 250,000 or is expected to be over 250,000 is required to register for GST. So your sales turnover, if it's over 250,000, you are required under the law to register for GST. It's a must that you register for GST. Now, for those that their annual sales turnover is less than 250,000, they can choose or they can opt. Choice MSW. You like register, you come forward. I want to register for GST, even though my annual sales turnover is less than 250,000. So that's optional. If your annual sales turnover is less than 250,000. Now, when we are saying annual sales turnover, 250,000, it includes your taxable sales and your zero rated sales, the total of your taxable sales and your zero rated sales, but it does not include your exempt sales. A person who should or hope to register for GST must complete a TIN 1 or TIN 2 form and have that signed and lodged with the IRC. I believe on our first day, one of our presenter went through the registration process, the TIN 1 and TIN 2 registration process. So the process is similar to that. So for GST registration, that person or that applicant must lodge a signed and completed TIN 1 or TIN 2 form together with the IPA documentation, the PNG IPA business or company certificate or extract together with the other requirement like your ID, your personal ID, your driver's license or other ID that is required by the IRC to register you for TIN. So once you are registered, you get a TIN. We create a GST account under your TIN, your taxpayer identification number. You have a taxpayer identification number, and under your TIN, we create tax accounts, and GST is one of them. What are the two bases of accounting for GST? One is the cash basis or payment basis of accounting. Two is the accrual or invoice basis of accounting. Now, with the cash basis or payment basis of accounting, you declare sales and expenses as and when you receive or when you make the actual payment. That's the cash basis of accounting or payment basis of accounting. With the invoice basis of accounting, you account for your sales, your expenses when you issue an invoice or when you receive an invoice or when you make a payment or when you receive a payment, whichever is first. Suppose you invoice him pass, you by declare him law, this la time we invoice. Suppose money can pass, you declare law, this la time where you kiss the money pass. So whichever is first. When you are registered for GST, by default, you must account for GST on invoice basis of accounting. For case basis, you have to apply to the IRC. And there are certain criteria or requirements that you must meet under the GST law before you are actually allowed to account on a cash basis. Am I right? Or suppose me go fastly click, you play Rishiman, so I can slow it down. We'll proceed. What is the time of supply? The time of supply is when the supply occurred. Time of supply is important because it determines the tax period or the month in which the sales and the expense is declared or it's claimed in your GST monthly return. Time of supply is identified by the date an invoice is issued or is received, or when a payment is made or is received, whichever is first. Sorry, this la presenter o'clock give maybe click so. Now, when you are registered for GST, you are required to issue a tax invoice. So you should know what sort of information should be contained in a tax invoice. From the list there is the information that must be contained in a tax invoice. The word tax invoice must be in a prominent place. You must have that word tax invoice written there, and the name and the address and the TIN number of the supplier, the name and address of the recipient or your customer, and the date upon which the tax invoice is issued, and a description of the good or the service that is being supplied. Yeah. You should also specify the quantity or the volume of the good or service that is being supplied. And also you must have the value of the good that is being supplied and the GST component and the total value. Or you can have the total value, but you can have the GST component factored in that total value. So some time you go to store and you buy more something, you look him price bill something only put him. Now only put him GST 10%. Now you get one blah total only put him. You can have that, or you can just put the total there, which the GST component is also factored in that total. The 1/11 is factored in that total. So now for amounts that are below 200 kina, you don't need to have the name and address of the recipient or your customer, or you don't need to have the quantity or the volume of the good and services that you are supplying. What is the obligation of a registered person? Once you are registered for GST, you have an obligation. It's like you decide to get married and to have kids. You have an obligation to those kids. You have to provide for their food, buy their clothes, put them in school, etc. Likewise, for tax purposes, if you are registered for GST, you have an obligation. You don't just come and register, now you go loosen about. No, God. You have an obligation. And you must fulfill that obligation. You have an obligation to file monthly GST return. Say the monthly GST return for this month. This month is September. September 2022. Will be due on the 21st of October 2022. It's on the 21st of the following month. So you have about 20 to 21 days to prepare your monthly GST return. So you must lodge on or before the due date, which is the 21st of the following month. Now, if the due date falls on a non-working day, that is, if it falls on a public holiday or over a weekend, you can lodge on the next working day. Now, GST is due on lodgement. When you are lodging and if you are in a payable situation, you must lodge your return together with the payment. Payment must come one time, return. If you don't pay on time, you will be penalized for late payment. How to calculate GST payable? As a GST registered person, you must know how to calculate your GST payable for that tax period or month. GST payable by a registered person for a taxable period or month in respect of supplies of goods and services in Papua New Guinea is the output tax for that period, for that month, less or minus the input tax for that tax period or month. What is output tax or output tax debit? Is the GST that is charged by the registered person on his supply of goods or services. Input tax credit is the GST that is paid by the registered person on his passage of goods and services. The GST that you charge is your output tax. The GST that you pay is your input tax. Now, there are some expenses where you cannot or you are not allowed to claim an input tax credit. And there is a long list of them, but I've just have a few on my list there to just to give you an understanding of this. And the first one is housing or motor vehicle benefits provided by an employer to his or her employees. So if you are providing housing or motor vehicle to your employees, you cannot claim the input tax credit in your return. The other expense is funeral expense. You want to businessman na tanong ko tambo blue die so you buy coffin box na some illegal something all this la kind you won't claim it. You won't claim the input tax credit. Or donation or passage of goods for private use. Maybe you bought something for the business or the company, but you are not using that for the operation of the business or for business purpose. You are using that for your private purpose. You are not entitled to claim the input tax credit. Overseas travel. We know that overseas travel, the ticket that you purchase does not attract GST because it is zero rated. Duty free goods, newspapers that we buy, medical and educational expenses, you cannot claim any input tax credit on these expenses. How do I end up in a GST refund situation? Suppose in a month you incur more expense or you are spending more than the income or the sales that you are making, you will obviously end up in credit or a GST refund situation. So if you are in credit or if you are in a GST refund situation, you can either apply for a refund or for a credit offset to utilize the available credit that you have. How can I lodge a GST refund or a credit transfer application? A registered person must lodge a completed credit transfer application or a CR1 form or a refund application form or a CR2 form through one of the following avenues. We have provincial tax centers and regional tax centers. So you can lodge those completed forms in one of those offices, or you can lodge it at our taxpayer service at our headquarters, or you can email it through the group email that we have it there. GST refunds review at hirc.gov.pg. So these are the three avenues where you must lodge your signed and completed CR1 or CR2 form. The signed and completed CR1 or CR2 form must be accompanied with mandatory requirements. And the mandatory requirements that we have there is your sales listing and your supplies or your expense listing. If you are applying for a credit transfer or CR1, you must provide your sales listing and your supplies listing for the tax period or the month that is in credit, as well as the tax period or the month that is in debit, or you are trying to offset that credit. For GST refunds or CR2 forms, you must lodge together with your sales listing and your supplies or your expense listing. These two are the mandatory requirements. As and when our auditors they review your application, they will request for other additional information as well. In our example, I will show you the format of the sales listing and the supplies listing. Now, what is GST Section 65A? GST Section 65A is a provision in the GST Act. I mean, one liklik section underneath or inside law, GST law. It allows the Commissioner General to issue a notice to a person. A person can be a government department or a state-owned entity or a company, etc. Authorizing or compelling that person to deduct the GST component from all its suppliers and remit directly to the IRC. It is a compliance tool that we are using. We Papua New Guineans, we have this dishonest tax paying community. Yumi sajem GST na desla GST money only bayam lo yumi. Instead lo come forward long IRC na bayam desla GST yumi no sabab bayam. So this is a compliance tool that we are using to collect GST at source. So those notice holders will be remitting those GST on your behalf. So this will notice holder all by buying GST on your behalf. Because you yet you less lo come forward na buy so. Maki mouse blue all by this GST blue. So we have rolled that out through to our agriculture sector some years back. And in 2020, we started with the government departments and agencies and the state-owned enterprise. We have about 75 of them where we have issued them notice to withhold those GST components from their supplies and remit directly to the IRC. Now, only those that we have issued the notice are required to withhold the GST. In all gonna line, in all gonna pick dog by withholding this GST. I'm all gonna this line where Commissioner General give this authority give this notice long all must be told him. Only those will be told, and there are 75 of them. That's for the government departments and state-owned entities. For the agriculture sector, we have about 7 or 8 of them. So the GST Section 65A denies you as the supplier to collect your GST component. Previously, they used to pay you in full. Say, for example, you invoice one of those, say, Department of Finance. You invoice them with 11,000, of which 10,000 is the actual value of the good or service that you are providing or rendering, and 1,000 is the GST component. Now, Department of Finance, as an authorized withholder, will pay you only 10,000 kina. That is the net of GST. That GST component, that 1,000 kina, Department of Finance will withhold and remit directly to the IRC. We will have that amount receipted and have it transferred into your GST account. So it's like a payment to you. How can the supplier report the GST Section 65A deduction? If you are supplying to one of those authorized withholders and they have withheld your GST, how do you account for that in your monthly GST return? Now, as a supplier, when you are reporting in your monthly GST return, you must include the total invoice value. Going back to the previous example that I have given, you invoice Department of Finance with 11,000. They pay you 10,000, they withhold 1,000 kina. And you must report 11,000 kina, the invoice value in your GST return. You don't report 10,000 kina because you only got 10,000 kina. No, you must report the invoice value, which is 11,000. When you are filing the G1, you must also attach other required documents like the remittance advice. And that is for those government departments, those authorized withholders that are using the integrated financial management system or the IFMS system. You attach a copy of the remittance advice that they issue to you when you are filing your G1. And also, you must provide details of your withholders. There are some authorized withholders, like the SOEs or the state-owned entities. They don't use the IFMS system. They have their own accounting or reporting system, like the National Airport Corporation or the National Fisheries Authority. These are the authorized withholders, but they don't use the IFMS system. For those withholders, you must provide their detail, their name, their TIN, the GST exclusive amount, the GST amount, and the GST inclusive amount. You must provide that for our reconciliation and for our verification. Now, too much talking, so let's do some practical stuff. I have a case study and we'll go through that. So let's say ABC Limited operates as a retail store in Port Moresby and it's a GST registered company. And there is its TIN. In August 2022, it made a total sales of 7,700. It also incurred a total expense of 5,060 kina in that same month. So the table below provides details of the sales and the expense. So you and I, we are to assist ABC Limited to complete its GST return for the month of August 2022. This is what your sales listing and your suppliers listing should look like. So in the sales listing, we have the date, the name of the customer, the invoice number, the amount, the GST component, and the total amount. There's one particular supplier that I have highlighted, and that is rather customer that I have highlighted, and that is Department of Finance. Department of Finance issued an invoice of 2,200 to ABC Limited. As an authorized suite holder, Department of Finance paid ABC Limited only 2,000 kina and withheld 200 kina. So we will see how we will account for that in the monthly GST return. Below is the suppliers or sales listing. We have the date, the name of the supplier, and the TIN. When you are doing up your suppliers or expense listing, it is important that you state the TIN of the supplier. And the details, the amount, the GST component, and the total. So our total sales for the month is 7,700, and our total expense for the month is 5,060 kina. Now we will assist ABC Limited to fill up its monthly GST return. Here is the G1 form or the monthly GST return. So first thing first, on the top right hand side, we have the taxpayer identification number. It is important you must insert or fill your TIN number on the top right hand side. Once you are done, you move to the name and address of the taxpayer. So in our example here, the name of the taxpayer is ABC Limited. The contact is Mr. Joe Blow. And we have the phone number there, the email address, we have the mailing address, Section 1, Lot 21, the street, suburb, and district, Kanaga Street, 5 Mile, Port Moresby. The postal address, 256. Country, it's obviously Papua New Guinea, PNG. The province, from the example, it's NCD. Moving down, we have the tax period. That is the month and the year. The month is August. The year is 2022. Moving further below, we have block 1, the calculation of output debits. For the G1s, note that we have both PDF format and Excel format. But I would encourage you to use the Excel format because we have those formulas embedded in there, so it's much easier for you to use instead of the PDF format where you have to do manual calculation. So block 1, line 1, we have our total sales. And in our example, the total sales for ABC Limited is 7,700. So if you are using the Excel format, it will automatically calculate the output debit in line 6. If you are using the PDF format, you will have to manually calculate it yourself. But if you are using the Excel format, you just input the total sales and the output debit will automatically be calculated. So line 6, our output debit is 700. Moving down to block 2, we have the calculation of input credits. Line 8 is where you input the GST that you paid on your business. Now note, in block 1, we inserted the total sales. Don't be tempted to include your total expense in this line. It is only your GST. You must insert only the GST that you incurred in this line 8. I'm clear? Moving further down to block 3, we have the summary, the GST payable or refundable. And from our definition, we know that GST payable is output debit minus input credit. 700 minus 460 gives us 240. So that is our GST payable for that month. And that is line 15. We have another line, one more line, which is line 16. Now with this line, you will insert the GST amount that has been withheld by the authorized withholder. In our example, Department of Finance withheld 200 kina. So that 200 kina must go into line 16. Now when you are trying to pay IRC, since Department of Finance has already remitted 200 kina on your behalf, you have to take that 240 out from 200 kina. You end up with 40 kina. So you pay only 40 kina to the IRC. That other 200 kina will come from Department of Finance. I'm clear? Moving on to the next section, sales by province. This section is important. You must fill in this section. The GST that we collected goes back to its provinces under the 60-40 ratio. You must record the sales under the province in which you made that sales. So in our example, our province is excellent, NCD. So we insert that 7,700 in the row where it says National Capital District. The last part is you must always put your powerful signature. And you must date it. I know of some people where their signature is so powerful that they have to occupy a A4 paper. So this is the last thing. You must sign it and date it. Second example, and we'll be done. Cowboy Security Services Limited provides security services to its client in Mount Hagen, Western Islands Province. Cowboy Security Services Limited is a GST registered company. We have the tin there. In July 2022, it made a total sales of 8,310 kina and incurred a total expense of 5,005 kina. The table below provides details of the sales and expenses. You are to assist Cowboy Security Services Limited to complete its GST return for the month of July 2022. This is the sales listing and its suppliers listing for Cowboy Security Services Limited. In the sales, we have the date, the name of the customer, invoice, number, the amount, GST, and the total. I've also highlighted one particular sales, and it's a sale to a prescribed foreign aid provider. They are zero rated. So from the GST column, you will note that the GST amount is zero. So we have our total sales as 8,310 kina. Moving down to our suppliers or expense listing, we have the date, the name of the supplier, the tin, the details, the amount, the GST, and the total. So our total expense for the month is 5,005 kina. Now we will assist Cowboy Security Services Limited to prepare or fill its GST monthly return for July 2022. Now we have our G1 form there. So we will assist Cowboy Security Services Limited to fill up its GST return for the month of July 2022. On the top right hand corner there, we have the TIN number, the taxpayer identification number there. So we insert the TIN number there. So there is Cowboys Security Services Limited TIN number there. Now coming down to the name and the address of the taxpayer. The name of the taxpayer is Cowboy Security Services Limited. So we type that in. The contact. You are the same person, Mr. Joe Blow. Your contact number 322-6939. Your email address joeblow@gmail.com. Our mailing address, we have the section and the lot number, section 20, lot 25. The street district, we have Kagamuga again. The postal office 666, the most dangerous number. Country, obviously it's Papua New Guinea. Province, Western Islands Province. And the post office, Mount Hagen. And it's care of Joe Blow. Moving further down, we have the tax period, the month and the year. Our month is July. The year is 2022. Now, block 1, the calculation of output debits. Our total sales is 8,310 kina. But we do have a zero-rated sales to one of the prescribed foreign aid provider. So there is line 3 where it says zero-rated sales. So you insert that 500 kina there. Now moving down to block 2, calculation of input credits. Our input credit is 455. So if you are using the Excel format, once you enter the input credit, it gives you the GST payable in line 15. So output debit less or minus Input credit 710 minus, we have the GST payable there. So moving further down to our last part, our second last part, the sales by province. It's important that you insert the sale in the province in which you have made the sales. Ours is Western Islands Province. So 8,310 kina goes in there. Now the last thing is to put your signature there, and you must date it. Mr. Joe Blow, just put the name there, so but you can sign it. And the date, 21st August 2022. So this just example, just to assist you to have a fair understanding of how you can go about filling your monthly GST return. These are the key contexts. Should you have any questions in the future, do not hesitate to contact one of these officers. They'll be more than happy to assist you. Atin M. Tasol.
Thank you, Dagemba, for the very good GST presentation. Iplabakisim question. Any questions? Please, Dagemba will take the questions for now. Okay.
So, could you just kindly, when I calculated 7,700 divided by 0.11, I arrived at 840. But if I multiplied 7,700 times 10%, I arrived at 770. Could you just kindly clarify that area? This the GST on the sales.
Sorry, can you come again?
On that form it says output debits divide taxable sales line 5 by 11.
That's 7,700, correct?
Yes. I'm
That's
just like confused. Why is it 11 when it should be 10?
okay. Thank you. That's a very good question. So there you will note that in order for you to get your output debit, you must divide your total sales, which is inclusive of the GST. You must divide by 11. Why 11? 11 is a magic number. So it's called a tax fraction. It's 1 over 11. Now, if it's inclusive of GST, you must always divide by 11 to get the GST component. Now, if it's exclusive of GST, you multiply by 10% to get the GST component. Am clear? Inclusive of GST, you divide by 11 to get the GST component. If it's exclusive of GST, you multiply by 10% to get the GST component. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Good presentation, Leo. I mean, put him good bla clarity kamen chalo mi blo sambla line confuse step long em. Me exempt long GST. Me solemn invoice let me go out. Me show him clearly also no got GST. Now you talk long S65A now come in. So online me solemn invoice let me go long all rouse him GST. Time me exempted long him. So me wrong or all wrong or please this like me foul yeah. If I can clarify this last so that time all buy me short 10% yet. Now me exempted yeah. I'm question me so you can shed him some light on this plan. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. That's a very powerful question. Um, may I ask, why are you exempt? Okay, thank you. Okay, for GST, we don't give exemption to the entity itself. Exemption is given on supplies only. So, with respect to your question regarding you are invoicing one of those authorized retailers, but you are not charging GST. So, yes, correct. If you are not charging, they shouldn't be withholding. So, you can come see me later. We can discuss further on that.
Can you give the mic to our question on the other side?
Check. Um, Thank you, Degamba. This is a very good presentation there. Nicely done. Slides are good as well. Um, I'm Presley. I'm in the medical industry. The reason why me I'm sort of having issues here is you're saying that if I'm in the industry that is tax exempted, should I register or not? That's the register as a GST, registered GST person. The second question is in terms of the output tax and input tax. It realized that if I'm giving medical service, if I'm doing medical consultations, I'm not charging tax, but then I'm paying overhead costs that includes tax. So should I, if I'm not gonna be registering, then how should I get those that I'm paying tax back? Um, and also, if I'm sort of like reinvesting back into the business in building the business hub from ground zero, like as in all of us, I know, like we startups, we want to, if we want to expand and grow big, we reinvest back into the business. So then we are paying tax when we are buying, purchasing construction items, or paying labor costs to contractors and stuff. And if you look at it, we're paying more compared to getting things back. So that has been a headache for me, and I've been wondering where would be able to sort of get clarification from. So this is an opportunity, so I'm raising this one. Thanks.
Thank you. With regards to your first question, if you are only supplying exempt supply, you cannot be registered for GST. But if you are also supplying other taxable supplies, you can be registered for GST. But if you are supplying only exempt supplies, you cannot be registered for GST. Now, with regards to the expenses that you have incurred in supplying those exempt supplies, under the GST law, you cannot claim the input tax credit. So the difference is for zero rated supplies, you can claim the input tax credit. But for exempt supplies, you cannot claim the input tax credit. So that's the difference. Sorry, does that answer your question? Maybe to be discussed offline.
Thank you for the presentation. I have one silly question. There's a list, a rental list company. They receive the money from the supplier. The company withhold the share based on the agreement and pays the net to the balance, to the owner of the building or the land and all this. With regard to the GST, where the leaseholder, I mean, not a leaseholder, but the agent, let me say the agent, with all the payment, took the share, remit the balance to the owner. With the GST, what I think, maybe my suggestion, my idea could be wrong. They withhold the 10% of the principal amount, and the net that they sent and they paid to the owner should also register the GST portion as well in the GST return. How do we treat the GST portion in that section? Like I'm a tax agent, I withhold my share with the GST portion and I pay the balance to the owner. Will the owner also register the GST portion? Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. With regards to, we have those property managers and also those tenants. So we understand that those properties managers managing on behalf of those tenants. Correct? Sorry.
Landlord.
Thank you. Landlord. So the property manager invoice tenant, correct? So the tenant makes the payment to the property manager on behalf of the landlord. So more correctly, the tenant should claim for this because the property manager is only acting on behalf.
The, the kindly ask your question again or your statement.
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm a property owner. I'm a property owner and I engage real estate as an agent. Real estate collected the money. They get a share and they pay my share. So when they record the GST portion, should they register the GST based on the share and the balance I should register as well as mine? Or how do the transaction go with the GST?
Leave the property consultant and the manager out of it. Your concern now would be how would you be remitting your income from the balance after they've got
Vice
their
versa, it's
consultant?
just the same. So how would I get my share with the GST when I'm reporting? I got my books and I'm reporting as well as the owner.
That's what I'm saying. So what would be the arrangement, sharing between you and the
It's not sharing, they're managing it.
they're managing and their consultation? How much would you be paying them? The balance that come to you is inclusive of GST. The total would be the sales that you declare on your GST form.
That's a question that I want you guys to confirm.
So
I own the company, my properties, I engage an agent. I have my books, I do my records. When the agent collect the money, they get the share and they pay my balance. And that's the income for me, for my service. How do I register the GST? Record the GST. That's my question.
Okay, thank you. I understand that the property manager, when invoicing the tenant, confirm if it's inclusive of their service fee as well. It's inclusive, correct? Okay. So their service fee will also attract GST, correct? Okay. Now, if the tenant is an authorized withholder, they will withhold the GST component. But bulk of the GST component will be your GST component. So more correctly, you are entitled to claim that as a 65A credit because that property manager is acting on your behalf. Yes, we do have such cases where we have this property manager
yeah.
And the landlord. So yes, you as the landlord, you're entitled to claim that credit in line 16.
So when I prepare the return, I record that the GST portion as well.
Yes, you must
Because
declare the
that's my
sales.
income.
Yes, you must declare the sales as well as the credit in line 16.
Thank you.
If the property manager is claiming, then they will be underpaying you.
Thank you. Will take the question, especially in relation to GST to rental properties. Yes, will officers will be outside taking. It's a very another area of GST that can be a little bit technical. So those of you in the that have properties and others are managing on behalf of you, the maintenance and all the other management fees that they charge, will take those questions outside GST in relation to rental property, especially when you have someone managing it for you, can be a little bit technical. We'll take another question from this side.
Thank you for the presentation. I have a query. In Manos, when is that? Is the tax-free made effective? If yes, then clarify on which income, whether it's exempt or zero rated, for the purpose of businesses in Manos. Thank you.
In terms of GST.
May I ask, is it in relation to GST?
Yes,
Who said Manus is tax-free?
according to political issues had on the island. I'm from Manos, so I have a concern on my island. We cannot get the clarification from IRC office in Manus. So if you can clarify if my province on the businesses on exempt and taxable income are tax-free for GST purpose.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay,
Manus is not exempt from tax.
company tax. Because if we are to charge, then if we are tax-free, then that's where my question is. And if it's not made effective, then thank you.
Thank you. Legally time you want to marry me no clear so Manus will tax exempt so. I think some clear on this but clarify me this.
For your question, good question, but we'll take that question offline and probably later give a clarification on your question there.
Thank you.
Any others? Please, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation and good morning. Regarding the 65A section, you did not show us how the form being filled up properly and who's supposed to supply that? Is it the supplier or the customer? And do we need to attach that when we lodge the GST? Those are the three concerns that I have.
Sorry, can you repeat what you're
All right.
saying?
Regarding the 65A section of GST, you did not show us how to fill up properly in your presentation. And number two is who's gonna prepare that form? Is it the supplier or the customer? And number three is do we need to attach the form when we lodge the GST?
Okay, thank you. I think I've briefly shown that in one of my example. If you are subject to 65A withholding, you must declare that together with your other sales in the G1 form, you as the supplier. So this is your sales. So you declare that in line 1. And the amount of GST that has been withheld, you declare that in line 16. So in the example that I've provided, it's Department of Finance. The total invoice value is 2,200. They withheld 200 kina. The 2,200 you declare as your sales in line 1 of the G1 form. The 200 kina you declare in line 16, the GST withheld amount. This is from the supplier side. And you must attach together a copy of the remittance advice that is being issued by those government departments that are using the IFMS system. And for those that are not using, you can provide their details just for reconciliation. Now, from the withholder side, they do have their own obligation, and I haven't touched it. So they will also file a return on the 21st of the following month, like you supplier. So from the list, they will provide your name as one of their suppliers and the amount they have withheld. So from there on, we do our reconciliation. So there's both sides. They file, you file.
But how about the form itself? You did not show us in your presentation how to fill up the 65A.
That's the same form that you will use.
I mean, the form 65A.
okay.
Yeah, the G6. You have not shown in your presentation how to fill them up.
G6 is
The
none of your
information needed.
concern. It's for the withholders to file. It's not for the suppliers to file. So if we are running training for the withholders, we show them how to fill the G6 or the G2, 3, or 4. For your case, you are the supplier, so I'm showing you the G1.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Because if we go into showing you the G6, it would further confuse you. You people do not withhold on behalf of, not this audience. But thank you for your question.
We are only showing you what you need to know. Don't go to me so plan something information overload. So like something where you need loss away and by you away.
We'll take 1-2 more questions and we'll have our coffee break. We have one up here in front. Kindly stand up. There.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Name is Madhu Veratao. The examples you did are where the taxpayer is in payable situation, where he pays. Now, when he defaults, tax office usually jump up and down and charge penalties, I believe. When it comes to a situation where a taxpayer is in a refundable situation and where he can opt to apply it against the tax liability. Now, just turnaround time, if he decides that the refund must be paid to him. One, just give us the turnaround time for the payment. This is my question, number two. Number two, in relation to suppliers. Now, where a supplier listing is supplied, where cash sales are involved. Now, how do we take this up in the suppliers listing? Thank you.
Thank you. With regards to your first question, regarding the turnaround time for the CR1s, CR1s and CR2s. Yes, I do acknowledge that sometimes there's delay in processing your CR1s and CR2s. But at the moment, we are trying our very best to improve our services to you so as to get back to you in a more timely manner. So I would say it's between 2 weeks to 4 weeks, the turnaround time for this. And your other question is, sorry, may you repeat your other question?
It's in regards supplier listing.
Our
That has
supplier
to come
listing,
with the
cash payment.
yeah.
Yes, there you can claim for cash payment, but there are certain threshold where it must not be over. If the amount is so huge, you have to provide the name of the supplier. So we need to know the name of the supplier, the TIN number. So that supplier must be registered.
But where it involves cash.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
cash
can
sales,
claim,
yeah.
but there are certain thresholds, so it must not be over. So certain or legal amounts you can claim in. But all big pla amounts, you must provide him name law supply. So maybe must say to supply next like so.
Okay, thank you.
We'll take the last question and we have our break. We have one from the right at the back, and that will conclude the morning session.
Thank you. This is in the question related to. I just want to clarify on Manu's special economic zone. Sorry, she's a participant here, and we are the responsible department that deals with special economic zone. You can come to us, and we'll clarify on the tax issues and the tax-free economic zones. Thank you, Department of Commerce and Industry.
Thank you. And that should conclude for the morning. Once again, we all thank Degamba for a very good GST presentation, and I hope you all learned a lot. We'll take questions, officers are outside. If you're still unsure and you have questions to ask, please do feel free to ask during coffee break. Thank you. There's coffee provided again. Kindly take a cup of coffee, and we convene back at 11 o'clock.